Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 434 for December 23rd, 2014. The best of 2014. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll have many more happy holidays as you grow and protect your wealth with this award-winning financial app. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/MacBreak. Hello, MacBreak Weekly fans. Leo Laporte here. Yes, you could tell by the fact that I am an elf on the shelf that this is our holiday edition. Woohoo! That means we're going to have some of the best clips from 2014 coming up. Starting off with, 2014. That was the year that I got my brand new Mac Pro, and I just couldn't stop touching it.
Oh, fondle. Oh, corner radius. Oh, index of refraction of the paint glass.
Perfect circle. Perfect aluminum circle.
I'm just going to say, this is the last Mac Pro I'll ever own. I love
You
it.
look like you're fondling Mr. Bigglesworth.
I'll never leave you.
For the record, there are 5 different witticisms that I've thought of and then said, no, we better not say that. I like doing this show and I like Twit existing, and if I said one of those things, one or both of those things would cease to be true anymore.
I think that what really, and by the way, please don't send me emails saying, you nitwit, you could buy a keyboard and mouse for $15. I know. I have plenty of keyboards and mice. I'm just joking. I do have to say, and a final word on this. For whatever, it's way overpriced. Nobody needs the power, blah, blah, blah. This is a computer you literally can fall in love with. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Apple does that so well.
I'm kind of.
It's like owning a Lamborghini.
I'm kind of fond of it.
I don't know. I think I would get more day-to-day enjoyment from a Mac Pro than a Lamborghini, in my opinion. I don't know, probably being.
I sit down every night. I sit down and go, "What am I going to do with you?" And I open the browser and I go to Facebook. It's depressing, but
I'm not likely to send a Mac Pro into a ditch by the side of a road. That's one thing for sure.
Leo, how good is it as home theater PC?
I'm not using it as home. I use, believe it or not, the Xbox One is a perfect home theater PC. And I'm using that as my home theater PC, and that's fine.
It's too inexpensive. You need a much more expensive home.
The real truth is I have absolutely zero need for this, but I do love it. It's something about it. You just kind of fall in love with it. It's hard to describe.
That's always been one of Apple's strengths, and it's not a trivial thing either.
You're saying it's okay, Andy?
No, I'm
for me to love it.
I'm saying do not turn. There are objects in that very room you're sitting in right now that are capable of returning your love in a significant way that will pay off for you in the long run, as opposed to forcing you to go find a box of wet naps and get that stuff off your Mac Pro. I'm just
Ouch.
I'm just saying that there's so many laptops out there that I think are really, really great. I really like my new Retina MacBook, but I also like these $250 Chromebooks. And whatever the advantages of a Chromebook are, when you take it out of the box, you don't feel like, oh man, that is manifestly the weapon of a king. This is a beautiful thing. I feel
that the fondle cam.
Yeah. Welcome to Cinemax, 1 a.m. Coming up at 1:10.
Look, the reason we get into this business for a lot of us, certainly it was for me, is a love of technology, a love of, Apple's taught us a love of design.
Dare not speak its name.
And every once in a while, an object comes out that's really fetishistically beautiful, and they're rare. And when they come out, you want to kind of celebrate them and honor them. And this is
there's a reason why so many of the people on this show and listening to this show have a G4 Mac Cube.
Exactly. I had that.
That is not in storage, not been given away. It's just a beautiful object that gives them pleasure to simply have it on the shelf somewhere. That's not an easy thing for a tech company to. Okay, now you're skeeving me out a little bit.
I shall call her.
If next week we find that you put like a set of wax lips on the side of that, I might have to sit out a couple of shows.
But you know,
it could be fondling that forever and staying young. You know, and
it could be my pillow wife. All right, enough of this silliness. It is, you mentioned.
You know what we ought to do? Well, I do have to admit, and because it would show all of it. We should go back and look at when they first announced it, and then have all of our comments.
I freely admit, I mocked it.
Well, I don't want to do this at all.
I thought it was stupid. I said, who's going to want to buy this? It starts at $3,000, but by the time you equip it properly, you're talking 10 grand. All of that's still true. In fact,
and then you saw it.
And then I saw it, and it's like
the harp music.
Is it in its shade?
It's like if you knew that falling in love with Scarlett Johansson would cost you a lot of money and a lot of heartbreak, and that eventually George Clooney would come along and steal her away, but you still...
Mac Pro, you complete me.
Here's Leo's.
Just while you've got the gaffer tape out, just cover up the webcam on your notebook before you have your alone time with the Mac Pro.
You never know. You know what's great about the Mac Pro? No webcam, so no one can see you loving your computer.
$9.95 per minute.
Not available in the District of Columbia.
Rub my apple.
Oh, man.
Somewhere there's an Apple engineer feeling really uncomfortable.
He's saying,
I never planned that.
I love that music. By the way, pardon me for this interruption. David Huckable Bowl is a photographer who's done a set on Flickr called Mac-ternity. I think we should just sit back and enjoy these pictures of David and his Mac Pro. He's having my baby. What a wonderful way.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never feel sunlight on your face. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything, everything, everything I like to be.
I wish, for those of you listening to the audio stream, you could see these lovely pictures.
A Mac Pro boudoir photo.
I thought my fondle cam was going too far, but apparently here's a man who loves his Mac Pro even more.
Probably illegal in several states.
Yes. Can you marry a Mac Pro in California?
I got $20 that says that the moisture sensor inside that is very, very much red.
Taking off the headphones for a while.
Well, but I think when we think about what, jeez, just keeps on going.
Full multi-core action, just 1995. It's the hippie headband that throws me off.
The headband's a little weird.
Just when I'm about to sort of say, okay, to each his own, it's the headband.
Mac Pro Jesus turned water into.
And at this moment, how many hundreds or thousands of people watch this are saying, that guy got his Mac Pro. Why don't I have my Mac Pro?
Where's my Mac Pro? Damn you all to hell! All right.
Johnny Ive, how are you feeling about yourself right now? You feeling good about yourself right now?
Can't innovate my ass.
I can never unsee that.
Credit to David HB on Flickr. Or, I'm sorry, Davin, not David. Davin HB. Davin Haukebo Bowl. BOL. If you want to see these pictures, you may flee to Flickr and see them all.
We do love that Mac Pro, don't we? Coming up, it wasn't the only product that shipped from Apple this year. I think you know what I'm talking about. There was a little one and a really big one. Before we get to that, though, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our sponsor this week, Personal Capital. I love Personal Capital. We're all in the same boat. Planning for retirement, planning for a really big purchase like a house, just making sure that our money is working for us. You put a lot of work into earning that money. Don't waste it away. Don't let it fritter away. Use Personal Capital to see how your money's doing, where it's going. If you're overpaying in fees, if you're paying too much for financial advice, I love Personal Capital. Best of all, it's easy to set up and it's absolutely free. Visit personalcapital.com/MacBreak. Personal Capital, I have it written right here on the shelf. Personalcapital.com/MacBreak. And you could set it up. It'll take you a few minutes. Get all your accounts in there. Your checking, your savings, your investments, your mortgage, your assets. For one thing, for the first time ever, at least it was for me when I set it up, you'll know how much you're worth. You'll also see where your money's going. You'll see if you're overpaying in fees. Personal Capital will help you arrange your investments for maximum return at minimum cost. I got to tell you, this is the best thing you can do. It works on your desktop, your tablet, your phone. They even have an award-winning Android Wear Watch app, one of the very first. So you can see, you get updates at any time how your money's doing. Personalcapital.com/MacBreak. This would be 2015's here. I know you made some New Year's resolutions. I've got a few, but there's no resolution more important than making sure your money is earning its keep, that it's not being wasted. You worked hard to get it. Make sure you use Personal Capital to keep track of it and make it do the work it needs to do so you can retire at a young age. Personalcapital.com/MacBreak. You're going to love it. Well, this was the year we got new iPhones, and wow, they really were new iPhones.
So another rumor, more rumors on the iPhone. I think at this point, can we lock it down? There will be 2 iPhones, probably September. 4.7-inch display on one, 5.5-inch on another. I don't see, is Apple really going to do a 5.5-inch iPhone? Boy, that's a departure for them. That's a new Apple jump.
It's a new Apple.
It is until it isn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
you talk about not just the sources of rumors, but the velocity of them and the directions they come from. And although I would not have predicted even 4 months ago that Apple would have gone with 2 different larger screen iPhones, now I'm really starting to believe that there's going to be a normal sized phone that's larger than an iPhone, and also one that's kind of like a Pop-Tart. And I would never have guessed that. That is the one's indication of
kind of like a Pop-Tart.
The frosting on the Pop-Tart is the Sapphire.
That's the only way to put it. And the great thing is, like, it means that I occasionally have to go down to the store, buy some chocolate Pop-Tarts to make the comparison.
It doesn't taste as good. I'm willing to bet.
It was the first thing I noticed with the Nokia 1520 because it looked very, very familiar. So I bought a box of Pop-Tarts. It is exactly the size of 1 1/2 Pop-Tarts. You put 1 1/2 Pop-Tarts on top of it, you completely cover the footprint.
So you've blown the ratio, though.
That can't be it.
You can't. That's a long Pop-Tart. Nobody wants that.
Do you have an iPhone on you?
Oh, who doesn't want more Pop-Tarts?
So let's do the comparison, because this is not an exact comparison, because this is an iPhone 5S. Do you have the over-the-shoulder? That's the 4-inch screen. This is a HTC M8. That's a 5-inch screen, so it's bigger than the 4.7 will be. I don't have my Moto X.
It's in the middle.
It's in the middle. And this is a Galaxy Note 3. This is 5.7 inches. This is fairly close to what an iPhone 6 might look like. That's a jump of a jump of a jump of a jump.
It's like
the biggest question for me there is that the Note size, the phablets have not sold in North America in any appreciable number. They've sold like gangbusters in Asia, but they sold at a rather low price point.
Wait a minute,
and I don't think Apple's going to do low.
Give me that again, because then this is a Pop-Tart. And now, wait a minute. The Pop-Tarts.
I want to work there. If you've got Pop-Tarts,
the Pop-Tarts 4x3, though. Are you saying it'll be a...
No.
It'll be 16:9, won't it?
Yes.
What if you had 2 Pop-Tarts together? Would that be the 6-inch?
That's the iPad Mini.
That's kind of the iPad Mini.
And here's an Air. So there. Yeah. Oh, darn. Well, I guess I'm going to have to eat that one.
The Air is more a Sara Lee cake.
Would you like a Pop-Tart?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Hand it over.
Yeah, we do have Pop-Tarts. That's part of the employee benefit program we offer.
They have sugar, Coke, and Pop-Tarts, Andy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Not coming through.
What? I can't hear you. I've got a Pop-Tart in my ear.
You're holding it upside down, Jason.
You're holding it
The
wrong.
home button isn't working.
Exactly. They haven't solved that antenna problem on the Pop-Tart.
What the hell kind of flavor Pop-Tart is this? This has got sparkles on it.
Strawberry.
You need a bumper of icing before you can get calls on that.
Icing bumper.
They make, okay, this is not a healthful snack.
No, have you seen the calories in that thing?
This is not a healthful breakfast.
It's like as many calories as like a Big Mac, basically.
I don't know what I'm having for lunch.
Make sure you note that in your health app, Leo.
Wow. I'm not eating that.
We just got Pop-Tarts at the TD desk, too.
Everybody gets Pop-Tarts.
Jason, push one towards the TV. Push one towards the TV.
Who buys Pop-Tarts for the staff?
Sorry.
Is that Debbie? Is that Lisa's idea? Debbie?
I think we bought them like 6 months ago, and they've just been hanging around.
Glad. Well, that's a good thing about a Pop-Tart. They keep for a long
Last
time.
forever.
So let's talk about. So Alex, you're just going to have to recuse yourself. Actually, Alex,
I've been playing with everybody.
You're our guinea pig, by the way.
I know.
Let me hide that. Okay.
So
you're our guinea pig because you haven't bought yet, and are you like
order
most
one,
of the
but I
United
can
States
cancel
of America and soon China and the rest of the world in a conundrum, in a quandary?
It is very upsetting for me. The whole thing is that if the optical image stabilization was on the small one, it would be a no-brainer. Like I wouldn't even think about the large one.
Let me just point out something real quickly that I think is significant. These are identical except for size, right? And now the pixels per inch are not, but it's not like you get more icons on the screen.
You get an extra row, don't you? No.
It looks like the same number of rows to me.
Yeah.
Now, this is not zoomed. This is standard.
Yeah.
Zoomed would take away a row, as a matter of fact.
But wait until developers start targeting that screen. Just like when the first iPad mini came out, it was just every single full-sized iPad app only like optically shrunk down, and then after a few months, people started targeting that user interface and making it better. So we're seeing that a little bit with some of the Apple-made apps, but I think that we're going to really see this as an entirely new like device platform.
Well, and that's another really important point for today, which is many apps are not scaled properly at all. So this is Google Plus. None of the Google apps were modified for the new resolution. So this is Google Plus, basically as it would have been on the 5S or any other phone.
Yeah. The scaler is pretty good though, especially on the 6 Plus, because it's got such a high density. On the 6, you'll see the little line wave sometimes because it's scaling it, but on the 6 Plus, the density is so high you can barely see the scaling.
Yeah, but I got to point. Okay, so again, look at this here. This is you're seeing exactly the same thing. Yeah. It's not like you're using more of the screen at all. And but these are fairly big tech. Now, again, this is for an unmodified app. You're absolutely right, Andy. It will soon be better.
Yeah, Vespa is updated. Overcast is updated.
Go ahead.
I'm saying if you have an app like the Kindle Reader where you can adjust font sizes, suddenly you can make the font a lot smaller than you had on the even on the regular 6 and still be nicely readable. So even today, it's even a good idea. I think in the future, though, it's going to be even better.
So this is Apple's app, presumably up to date.
Yeah, and you can rotate it on the 6 Plus, Leo, so you get the if you don't have it.
I turned it off. Hold on a second.
Yeah. You'll get the split view controller.
You know why? If Apple didn't rotate the home screen, the springboard, I would leave it on. But I hate it when springboard rotates, right?
Yeah, so you get the iPad style of app on horizontal. Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah, but see what I don't like is when this happens. Ooh.
But even if we have that resolution, it still won't actually load iPad apps, correct? Or does it?
No, they can make the same view.
It still runs iPhone, and also it doesn't have a lot of the nice features of the iPad. Like a lot of the 4-finger gestures for navigation system-wide don't work. I don't believe it works with the some of the iPad accessories through the Lightning adapter. So it's very much still a super big iPhone as opposed to an iPad that's smaller.
Which I think is kind of a bummer, because I think that it would be. I mean, I would replace my Mini with the larger one, and that would be more of a temptation for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that over the past week, I have been using keyboards with this. I've been doing a lot of experiments that way, and I find that a lot of reasons why I would like just toss an iPad in the bag because I'm going out for the afternoon is now being replaced with, well, I've got the iPhone 6 Plus. Maybe I'll just grab this pocket keyboard in case I want to write something, but otherwise I'm going to be good. So
here is presumably Apple Mail is updated, right? So as soon as this loads, I'll show you. So this is a nice spam message, but I didn't want to show you any personal details in it. So Bay Alarm, you're getting a free ad. Congratulations.
It'll see your mail list when you turn it, Leo.
Yeah. So when you turn it sideways like that, I like that, and that actually is probably the best example of why a bigger screen is useful. Because of course that doesn't do anything.
That's because of all those new adaptive UI classes. So you have compact and regular classes, and this iPhone presents itself as basically developers can target it as an iPad in horizontal view.
Right. So I don't see a lot of. Again, this is the segment in which we help you decide which to buy.
This is my problem
Alex
right
Lindsay.
here. See?
Yeah.
This is one of my chief problems. I really only actually wear one shirt that has different colors, and this is my problem. This. barely. It
It
fits.
fits beautifully. What are you
It's a little
talking
tight.
about?
It's a little tight.
Now, you're probably going to want a case, so you probably should include the case,
see,
right?
once you have a case on it, this one fits a bit better.
Yeah.
You need pockets of holding.
I know, exactly. We definitely need pockets of holding.
So new apps will come out that will take advantage of the real estate and that won't look scaled. I have to say, I see the scaling, but that won't look scaled. And then we saw, this happens every time. There's OIS in the 6 Plus, not in the 6, although a lot of people are saying the low light performance of the 6 is excellent. The OIS doesn't turn on unless you're in a low light.
Andy, have you done any like real side to sides or Renee?
I'm actually going to be doing my really intensive 8-way side-by-side comparison tests Wednesday and then into Thursday. I did some quick stuff with it in the backyard and like basically in darkened rooms. I think that you can, in the right situation, you certainly can see the enhancement of the 6 Plus. I don't think you're correct. I do think it's always image stabilized.
Is it always on? All right.
Okay. I believe that it's always on. But the reason why the iPhone 6 does such a good job in low light is that there are a bunch of other tricks behind the scenes. For instance, there is a 3-shot behind the scenes trick that they're doing, so that let's say that you're taking a picture of somebody inside a church. It will take it will take a sequence of 3 shots without you knowing it. The first shot will be a long exposure to capture whatever's not moving around, like the actual church, and then it will actually combine that with those 2 other pictures to find sharp areas in which people weren't moving and combine that synthetically into one shot that looks where everything looks like it's nicely in focus. So there's a lot of elfin magic behind those that hollow tree.
It is an amazing camera on both phones.
Yeah,
we did some tests with them.
Yeah, Renee.
And we did some tests with them, and it's really close. The 6 is phenomenal in low light too, but you can just see the things. If you zoom them up, you can see that the way it handles the pixels on the 6 Plus is better. It's less noisy. Right. It's one of those things where if you buy the $1,000 lens as opposed to the $500 lens, some people can tell it apart. Probably Andy could tell it apart, but it's harder for me.
Well, I think it's the difference between Instagram and then your grandchildren 20 years later. Almost. I mean, seriously, almost every phone that you buy today that's a halfway decent phone will take a picture that's just fine for Instagram or Facebook. The question is 20 years later when you've realized that, oh, that was the last time that we really had everyone, all the family from Chicago and Boston and San Francisco all in the same place together. And you're glad that you had the iPhone 6 Plus because this is something that will take a picture good enough to actually print out and put on the back of your sofa table, whereas the other cameras are like, okay, that's nice. We'll put that on the Apple TV Mark 21, and we'll wish that Grandpa actually used a proper camera.
Actually, I can actually see a little bit of, well, this is not a good test.
And like I said, the processor is doing so much work in the background.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, the FaceTime, the front-facing camera is doing interesting things too. The front-facing camera here, for instance, does they're calling it one-shot HDR, and it will do it automatically. So if you're doing like a selfie like this, or if you're doing chat, it will automatically switch to a mode where it is synthetically producing an optimized image, so that the higher exposure in the background is not going to be quite as dramatic as the difference between the exposure and the foreground. Sometimes in my experience over the past weekend, if you give it a really bad lighting situation, like I was shooting a video, we can see it on YouTube, in the backyard, kind of like a couple hours before sunset, and it's in shade, and this is a 1.2 megapixel camera. Let's not forget this on the iPhone 6, and so because of the HDR, the colors are a little bit odd, but the tonality is right there. So there's so much tricks out there. That's why you really do have to take it out and rock and roll with it for a few days before you appreciate that it has specs that go beyond what the actual hardware is.
So we're just talking about differences. Obviously, screen resolution, camera, and then battery life. How about that?
It's a monster. I go to sleep and it's still at 38%, which is nuts. That for the 6 Plus.
Yeah, I have yet to put when I'm finally wrapping up my last Android phone stuff today, which means I can finally put my SIM in this AT&T iPhone. So it's only been used on Wi-Fi since Friday, but I was charged up fully on Friday and had to charge it again today. And that's a guy who's been spending all weekend playing with it and watching movies with it and listening to music with it. It's just a monster, this iPhone 6 Plus battery.
6 Plus. How about the 6? What's the battery life for the 6?
The 6 is good. I think I would put it at a little bit better than what you get on the iPhone 5S, but not so dramatically better that it would influence your buying decision. I mean, there are a lot of people who actually have tethering on their iPads because they can just use that as your 2-day broadband base station. I think that this is going to attract a lot of people for the same reason. If you're using this also as your internet access point as you travel, or even spending the day outside the office, you will be able to, after using this as your base station for your MacBook or any other notebook all day long, you'll be able to board the commuter train home and still have enough juice left to have a good time on that train ride home.
Yeah, I've had the exact same thing. The battery life, some people have been confused because when you first install it, if you restore from a backup, it's got to download everything again. It's got to re-index Spotlight. There's a lot of stuff going on. So the first couple of days, it's hard to get good battery ratings. But it's lasting a little bit longer than my iPhone 5S, nowhere nearly as long as the 6 Plus. And to Andy's point, on Rogers now, Rogers LTE is obscene. It's not even LTE Advanced yet, but they've got, I think, 15 to 20 lanes of LTE, and I'm getting 90 down in my condo and 90 down at Starbucks, which is twice as fast as my broadband.
Let me turn off Wi-Fi. I'm curious what AT&T is giving us here in the studio.
I don't think AT&T has the enhanced. I think Verizon's the only one
Verizon.
in the US.
Oh, this is a Verizon. Let me turn off.
I got 90 down on Josh's T-Mobile.
Sorry? That's because no one uses T-Mobile.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It's
that's
uncongested.
what I ordered.
I want the Wi-Fi calling.
A couple of other points. Yeah, T-Mobile has Wi-Fi calling.
That was my number one.
The Apple Store was telling us, and I asked several people, that T-Mobile is locked to T-Mobile. It is not carrier locked, we have learned.
Yep. I bought mine completely unlocked.
And another point, which I think is great, is the Verizon version is SIM card unlocked, as it has been in the past, which is very good news because, for instance, I could take this to England, have Verizon here, get all those bands of LTE, but still take it to England and use T-Mobile and have the free international.
And also now the new Verizon will allow you to do both data and voice.
Voice over LTE, I think so, yeah.
So now you can...
So let me turn off Wi-Fi and do a
Verizon
speed test because I'm curious what we're going to get here. Now, I don't know what Verizon is like normally here, so... all right, so I think, is that all of the pros and cons that we would need to help Alex make the right choice? Yeah. Size, obviously, battery life,
to me,
camera.
The number one thing for me is just knowing how much of a difference the optical image stabilization is.
The only other thing I'd point out is it depends on your use case. For example, I quite often use my iPhone 5S when I was walking around with coffee or if I'm on the streets. I can't do that with the iPhone 6. It's just big enough that it's not that I can't reach, it's that when I try, I feel like I'm going to drop my phone and I just stop and I say, no, I'm going to put it down. It's a hand and a halfer. It is the iPhone 6 I can use perfectly well one-handed without any problems because it's so thin, it's so rounded, it still feels great. The iPhone 6 Plus, I can't do that anymore.
I think that it's the first iPhone where I think that having it in a really good case is going to change how you use it. I can't wait for really good like folio cases, like fold-over cases come out for this because you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been carrying this without the case only because I want to be able to feel like how warm does it get in the back when I'm using it, and all that sort of stuff when you're just testing a phone. But I also have the silicone sleeve for it, and when it's in that sleeve, I have a little bit more of a firm control over it. This is one of the slipperiest phones I think Apple has made. I was just putting it down on the end table just about a couple hours ago while I was getting other stuff ready, and I could just see it suddenly slightly going.
It's like the Nexus 4. Remember that? It would fall off a flat table.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that you're right. Once we have cases that allow you to get a little bit better grip on it, I can certainly walk and use it so long as I don't have to access most of the screen. I mean, my basic takeaway on it is on the 6 and the 6 Plus is that your default should be the 6. I think that any iPhone user will be extremely happy with the 6 and will not have a complaint about it. If you have a reason for the 6 Plus to have this larger screen, whether you want to, you're a system administrator and you want to do remote access and have more screen, you watch a lot of movies, you read a lot of books, you really want the extra battery life for acting as a base station, or assuming that the camera tests pay off as well as I hope they will, you really are frustrated by low light photography in other iPhones, then get it. But don't. You have to have a reason in mind. Don't think that, well, I don't know which one to get, I may as well get the bigger one, because I think you're going to be kind of unhappy with it, especially after spending 5 years using phones that are, as small as this.
Look like toys now.
I had to get out like the pre-stretched out version, and holy cats, is that like a difference? Like the screen is about as long as this screen is wide. It's amazing.
All of the people I know who have come from 5Ss or even less are struggling a little bit with the 6 Plus because it is such a big jump.
Yep.
I surprised myself. I've been using a phone of the 6 Plus's side for the last 6 months, and I really like the 6. I think the size of this. I've always felt 4.7 is kind of exactly the right size for a phone. What is that screenshot? Oh, that's showing us.
This is the amount of pixels in the original iPhone, which is way down here in the corner.
We know that. That was 2007.
And the current.
You might as well show a BlackBerry pager next to that. I mean, it
really does feel like the iPhone 6 is a linear successor to the iPhones, and the 6 Plus is something new. It's like the giant-sized cousin from Greenland. When you use this for just a few minutes, and you look back at an iPhone 5S, and it looks so thick and small and square, and then you look back at one of the phones Andy held up, and it looks like a little toy. It's amazing how quickly your brain recalibrates.
Having used all the iPhones, and not full-time for the last couple of years, I admit, the 6 itself is easily the nicest iPhone they've ever made. I really feel like this is a stunning work of art.
Apple says that every year they say that we believe this is the best iPhone we've ever made, and of course, I mean, in terms of specs, in terms of features, that's always true. But this really is the first time it feels like they could almost have called this the iPhone 2, like Mark II, because it's almost as if every iPhone before this was just laying groundwork for this, because this is so superior in every way. This is hands down the biggest upgrade I think they've ever done in hardware.
You see John Travolta.
Oh, that was painful. It's called too many martinis before the show.
I don't even know whose name he was trying to say.
Idina Menzel.
He didn't say Idina Menzel, did he?
So one of my favorite bloggers said, you know, John Travolta's job on stage he only had to do 2 things: dye his hair a natural color and say Idina Menzel. He failed to do either of those things.
Let me play the clip of I think he's on. This is on here. This is Oscar moments.
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
What did he say? Wait, we got to play that again.
I don't think even he knows.
Listen.
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
We're back at
Adele Dazeem. That doesn't sound right.
It's like someone on American Idol and I can't remember the words.
Well, I mean, so the funny thing about that, so you know, we work on a lot of live shows with celebrities, and what you end up with, and you saw this with Harrison Ford as well. You can tell, like, if you work on enough of these shows, you can tell who was worried about their presentation and who didn't care. So, like, Harrison Ford obviously did not. I know he's probably not on there. It's not like he made a mistake, but he obviously, the first time he saw whatever he was saying was when he was on stage.
The air. Yeah, it's called cold reading versus
right. So, but you can tell there's some people who thought about it, they worked on it. You can tell they probably practiced it over and over and over again. And then there are some people who decided that they were just gonna, you know, this is something they have to do, and so they got up and did it because they want, you know.
So he was supposed to say, what was the name he was supposed to say again?
Idina Menzel.
And he said instead. So now there's if you go to Slate, there's a little calculator, the Adele Dazeem name generator. You could Travoltify your name.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. Leo Laporte.
I swear you're gonna crack up.
Luke Lopez.
Wait, I want to see Alex Lindsay. Hold on.
You can only do it once. They force you to reload so that they get all the pages. Alex Lindsay. And now the wonderfly talented, let's welcome to the stage the wonderfully talented Argyle Lewis.
Get that domain name
Just
now.
call me Argyle Leswiz.
And that's the day that he finally believed his wife that, yeah, maybe I should get my contact lens prescription updated.
And then I actually very sympathetic, because once you've done that, you can't like say, what, let me fix it. No, they've moved on.
Yeah.
And you're that's
You
it.
live in infamy forever.
Forever in infamy. This is actually very exciting. We have launched the International Friendship Satellite And now Twit can be seen in places without the internet, all around the world, or places where the internet is blocked. And I think our video engineer, Alex Gumpel, is prepared to... Are you going to flip the switch?
Well, we actually have a live shot of the satellite.
Let's see it. Wow, that's exciting. It looks like Sandra Bullock is out there fixing it.
Got a plasma cannon on the front.
Crow.
What do I do?
What do I do?
Now in space.
So whenever you're ready, we can go. We can go ahead.
International Friendship Satellite.
Neil, your producer is getting irked with you.
And now let's flip the switch.
Are we
Alex
ready to
Gumpel.
use the satellite?
Let us begin our broadcast day, coming to you live from the Twit Friendship International Friendship Satellite. Okay, you can launch it.
Flip the switch. Here we go. There.
Look at that picture. Okay. That's coming to you from space, my friends. All right, let's.
So now all of our broadcast day will be coming to you from the satellite.
Excited. Look at that quality, huh?
I love it.
Even you can't do that. Take that, internets.
Whoa.
Welcome to MacBreak Weekly, coming to you live from space. This is really a red letter.
It's going
day.
to space. It's
That is
going
amazing.
to space.
We want to say hello to all our friends in North Korea, in Turkey.
Look at this.
In Russia. It was really the launch of the International Friendship Satellite is such a really significant, I think, advance for us here at.
I think the lower thirds have really improved as well.
You like those?
Yeah.
We had a little issue with the TriCaster lower thirds. We can't really use, so we have to have our own a character generator.
A little Chiron there, and
Chiron.
circa 1982.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
There's Andy. It's got the wrong URL for his. It's we can't fix it now because the guy who actually set those lower thirds up is dead.
It's okay. It's a pun
now. But you that's him up there hanging in space, fixing the satellite. Wow. Renee Ritchie from Montreal. Good to have you from imore.com.
Thank you, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Renee, are you opening a store? It looks like you're opening a store.
Renee's got some serious Lego action. And you have did you put the Arkham Asylum? Wait a minute.
It's right over here. I don't know if you can see it. I need to get better lighting for it, but it's right behind me.
This looks like an episode of Ham Nation. Hey, we got a special Ham Nation tonight, by the way. Joe Walsh is going to be on the show tomorrow night with from the Eagles, and he's a ham. I didn't know this, and he did the Ham Nation theme song. So I'm hoping we'll put that episode of Ham Nation on the International Friendship Satellite as well. I think that's fairly important. Why did you go? I'm a little concerned because video engineer Alex Gumpel went running across the studio. Is there something I should?
I'm just checking things.
He's just checking things. The flux capacitor seems to be on the fritz right now. Do we have a shot of the signal processor we're sending this stuff through? You would like this. Did you see this?
I haven't seen this before until today. I didn't realize we had this all.
Oh, we're entering the 20th century now. This is not a joke. And actually, if you look at the wiring, it spells something.
That is awesome.
Geek TV. Yeah. So with that, the signal is going through that coiled wire. They've run a 60 hertz power cord across it. What else can you do? The fan's good. It generates a little bit of.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. There's a serious case of why didn't I think of that? And I sit there and spend a lot of time doing effects in After Effects and in other things, and I could have just made a coil of wires and shake them.
So good. So good. Thank you, Alex, for... I charged him. I said, what would this show look like in 1968?
For transcripts of the Phil Donahue Show, send a self-addressed envelope to MacBreak Weekly, 396 Episode Boulevard.
even Alex looks the part. Thank you, Alex Gumpel. You rock.
Great.
And happy April Fool's Day, everybody. I'm not good at April Fool's jokes because I get bit. I believe these things, and it's very hard to go around the internet this time of year and try to figure out, is this true? Is this not true? It's particularly a problem in the Mac news industry since so much stuff is rumor and bizarre anyway.
It's my mother's favorite holiday. Oh my gosh.
Is she the kind of person who puts like salt in the sugar bowl so that when you get up for breakfast and you have your
That
Wheaties?
was one of her many mornings.
Does she
her favorite one.
The beds.
Her favorite one was waking us, changing all of our clocks to 2 hours earlier for school.
Oh,
and
so mean.
And then rushing us around, and then us finding out that we were
you get there
2 hours early. I mean, My dad actually wrecked his car on April 1 many years ago, and he called and she wouldn't believe him. he's like, I need you to send someone. I'm hanging upside down, and she just laughed at him.
No, we can go clean now.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to
What
irritate.
cigarette company is sponsoring us today, Leo?
Territon.
Well, then we got.
What was the one where people had black eyes? From
I'd rather fight than switch.
I'd rather fight than switch. Was that Territon? All right, let's.
Okay, here we go.
No.
I know, it's sad.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Burke, close your helmet, Burke.
You know, if you're wondering how he eats and breathes and other science facts, just repeat to yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax. Or MacBreak Weekly 496.
Is that live?
Yeah, it's live. We didn't record this.
Space, the final frontier.
That's a real can with a real beat on the front of it.
That's a beat.
I don't know.
Brought to you by Emerson TV, the clearest, sharpest 12-inch picture in America.
RCA.
Hey, Burke. Burke, are you there, Burke?
Making things with which to kill people that aren't us.
Yeah, you have to zoom in and then see him like hanging.
Petaluma, we have a problem.
I wonder if they'll figure out what my little joke is for today.
Oh, that's what I hate about April Fools.
Oh, I can't keep it in. It's supposed to be Sir Galahad, but it's actually Sir Gawain because Gawain wasn't taking the empty table at the round table. Okay, go do the show. I'm sorry.
He's such a jokester.
I couldn't sit on that one, Leo. I knew I'd blow it. Because everyone's probably like, oh my God, that looks like the round table, but that doesn't look like...
That's what I was thinking.
This is exciting. We're going to see. This is really exciting. This is the year 2015, next week, starting next week, that we're going to get to see the new Apple Watch and maybe a new Apple TV and a lot more. Remember when Andy Ihnatko got his first glimpse of the Apple Watch? He was there at the event. Talked a little bit about it on MacBreak Weekly.
We are down there in Cupertino using something called a Live View. We've used it before. It's yours, and I thank you for lending it to us.
Absolutely.
That gives us a connection live in real time via LTE, but there is some internet latency. So we think there's 1 or 2 seconds.
3. It's right. It's set to 3
it depends.
right now.
It's set to 3? Okay.
I can turn it down.
So there'll be... Can you turn it down?
I can take it over. Hold on.
We're getting a great image. I can't believe it.
We'll see what it looks like when we turn it down.
Turn it down.
Okay, hold on.
We don't need to see Andy in high def.
Okay, hold on.
I mean, look at.
I'm used to seeing him high def.
We're used to seeing him in. I don't know what's going on with the camera. There we go, Andy Ihnatko. And I don't know if he's going to be able to hear me, but let's see if he can. Andy is in Cupertino. Andy, welcome to MacBreak Weekly. We're joined by Justine, Mike Elgin, Alex Lindsay, and I already have seen the tweet you put out of you bulging, your eyes bulging with the Apple Watch.
No, I'm just, it's pretty dark in there, so if you want to get those diopters functioning in your own metaprogram processes, you got to basically give them some help.
We have a little bit of latency.
Sorry,
so
but
a couple of seconds.
I've been examining tiny pixels for the past hour.
Well, and that's my question. Now, I know it was in a demo mode. It didn't look like you could actually manipulate it, but you were at least able to watch it. So what's it like? Does it feel big? Does it feel thick? How does it compare? You've got the Moto 360. What does the screen look like? It's obviously a high-res screen.
Yeah. Yeah, the resolution on the screen is fantastic. You really have to strain your eyes to see any pixels whatsoever. Obviously, every time Apple does an event like this, they create a room in which their screens look great, but even under those conditions, you have to say that screen looked great. Big punchy colors. There is a mode where it's showing you. There's a special button when you punch it. You see pictures of your favorite contacts, and every picture in there looked like a beautiful, tiny little cameo portrait, as opposed to just like an avatar, little icon. It's really quite a treat to use it. The weight is surprising. Well, they do have 3 different models. If you have the sport model that's made out of a special kind of aluminum, that feels pretty okay. It feels about the same weight as the Moto 360 on my wrist, which is so light that oftentimes I forget that I have it on. I go back into the bedroom to get it off the charger. Oh wait, no, you actually have it on. If you have the stainless steel model, that's a big chunk of watch. Not so much that it's going to intimidate you. I mean, if you're familiar with high quality watches, you have definitely felt watches this solid before, but maybe you're not quite expecting it to be that big. Everything's rounded over. There's no blemishes. So the fit and finish is perfect. They have the leather magnetic watch band is the one that I wore. That instead of having a buckle like this, it just simply flaps over itself and holds fast, which means it's infinitely adjustable. And I was maybe I should have asked first, but after they put this on my wrist, I went like this to see if it would fall off, and it was holding just perfectly fine.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing because I'm not sure I'd trust a magnet. Those bands do look really nice. So what do you think, Andy? They're going to charge $349?
It depends on which one you get. The cheapest one is that. I have to go back to my notes to find exactly what it is. It's typical pricing, I thought, for an Apple product, which is it's certainly more expensive than whatever the rest of the industry has decided is the going rate for this sort of product, but not so much expensive that you wouldn't say, well, hell with it, I'll wait a few more months, or I'll make this the kids' combined birthday and Christmas present. It's what remains to be seen is how well all of this stuff works together, because as you say, there's the one thing you absolutely were not allowed to do was to touch it. There's Jason Snell is the hero of our little group because he actually was able to put a finger on it, and I think that whoever was let him do that was hustled out under a bag. But yeah, we were very. I tried to even take. I met some friends of mine who work for Apple, one of which who had one on, and it was like, okay, I can't show you this, and I can't let you do this, and that's okay. So that's fine. You have to ask anyway. So, but that's no different than what the original iPhone was like. I got a briefing for that one in which I got to actually use one of these things that was 3 months away from being shipped, and there were a couple of things that it worked, except for 1 or 2 apps that weren't ready yet. So maybe that's the situation, because obviously if you let just 100 different journalists peek, poke, and prod, they're going to find the one app that's just a JPEG, and then they say, oh well, the Notes app isn't functional at all. It's just a painting, and then they might, using that tone of voice in their writing, do something that's completely unhelpful and uncalled for. So I'm not. It'd be interesting to have a greater picture based on that, but you get what you get. The most interesting thing that I found is that not a peep as to what the battery life is. I was so scraping for details that I had to take quick notes as Tim Cook was talking about this wonderful inductive magnetic charging system, and I heard him say it's so easy to use. You're going to find this so easy to connect to the charger every night. Anyway, look at the styling of the bands. And so I don't know if that means that they are expecting one day of life per charge, but we'll see how that goes. Again, so many unanswered questions, but I think that what we were looking for is, does this thing look like it's something that's cool? Does it immediately sort of activate the lizard part of your brain that says acquire, acquire, acquire? And it certainly did that, certainly to a better extent than any of the Android Wear watches from LG or Samsung. And the Moto 360, I think this is a really, really nice watch. I've been wearing it for the past 4 or 5 days. I've been testing it for review later this week, and I've been finding it very, very useful. And even that doesn't look quite so nice compared to the Apple Watch. And I was surprised that I would like a square wristwatch like this. But again, like so many things, they solve the problem.
See, I never got into comic books as a kid. Like you guys really are just reliving your childhood.
I was programming.
If you like 300, you should see the response called 3.
3. Oh, look, there's what I just ordered. Wait a minute, you have it in hardcover.
Oh, of course.
That's what she said.
Well, wait a minute, I got the wrong one. They don't have a hardcover on Amazon.
They have Absolute Sandman, Leo. Look for that.
I'm going to quickly cancel this.
I would show you mine, but Guy English has them right now.
So I don't want paperback.
This is the best one. This is the...
Canceling.
This is the volume that has the Emperor Norton story.
Cancel. Ordered by mistake. What do you say when you cancel an Amazon thing? They say select cancellation reason. And mostly it's just because I don't want it anymore.
That darn kid of mine.
Yeah, there you go. They should have that.
They should have a drop down that says it's too easy to order in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. Your stupid one click gets me in trouble every time. So it's called, what is it? Sandman?
This is Absolute Sandman.
Absolute Sandman. I don't know if they have that. Is that the complete set?
They've done these things where they recolored the entire thing, and there's bonus
Wait a minute,
stuff.
it's volume. There's volumes.
There's 4 volumes.
Well, now I'm talking $500.
Oh, so worth it, Leo.
I just wanted one thing.
You see, you're already thinking about it too much. This is why one click is so good, and this is why Comixology is screwing themselves.
$80 each.
If you give yourself 5 seconds to think about whether I want to start getting into the original Sin Maxi series on Marvel, you're not going to buy it. It's a 5-second thought process.
There are 5 volumes at almost $80 each. We're talking $400.
But it's got a ribbon. You see a ribbon that's like a ribbon bookmark. It's classy as hell.
Should I order volume 1 and see if I like it?
Here you go. Here's the barcode. Just like grab the barcode off of this. Okay, that's all you need to do. Anyone who's downloading this, just get this barcode. You can't go half wrong with this.
I watched that silly newspaper comics movie you mentioned, and I went out and got the complete Calvin and Hobbes because of you. Now this.
There you go.
Get
and now your life is so much better.
There's a happy face on your Absolute Watch. Well, you guys are such nerds.
See, not just we had comics, but we could bring out our slip-cased editions on 30 seconds notice.
They're sitting next to you
one I grabbed.
at all times.
So good.
Of course, you don't have the tipped-in book plate that had the Dave McKean signature.
What's that, Merlin? What's that? Is that hard drives?
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, but I'm sure he's saying something fast. We can't hear you. Audio gone.
I was just going to say, if you're really a fan of Sandman, do what I did and get the raw files. It's
$165,000. Aaron Berger, change your Dropbox password.
Take Neil Gaiman's hard drives.
but not for another few days because I'm still downloading the finale.
Oh, my God. I love you guys. Let's just forget this and just do this show from now on.
Comics are fun.
Comics Break Weekly.
Comics Break Weekly. Hey, something happened while I was gone, and I was kind of aghast, shocked, blown away. And I'm talking about the video. I first saw Marcus Brownlee's video of the Sapphire, ported Sapphire screen of the iPhone 6, the 4.7-inch screen. And then he mentioned Sonny Dixon. He got it from Sonny Dixon, and I saw that Sonny and others had posted videos from China. And I think this is this surprised me. You know, typically you'll get these anonymous posts from Chinese sources, but for somebody of Marcus's stature to come forward and say, I have what I believe to be the iPhone 6 bezel in Sapphire, and he cut it with a knife and he bent it and all this stuff. But the thing that I found, in fact, I immediately wanted to, I almost called you, Renee, and said, is this possible? What do you think? Is this real? It'd be awfully hard to fake whatever that is. Now, by the way, no one knows if it is Sapphire. I don't know if there's a way to tell. I guess a mass spectrometer. Gorilla Glass 3, which others are using, is similar, is it not?
It's hard to know what the practical difference is going to be. I don't think the Gorilla Glass can stand up to the sort of abuse that he seems to be giving it right now.
So I have in my hands, this is a Samsung Galaxy S3 front cover. Let's just take this off. I want to get 5 million views. And I have a hard, sharp knife. Not a scratch. It's pretty hard to use a sharp knife.
Also, the panel by itself is thin and it'll bend when it's on. Andy said this.
Oh,
really
it's
well last week
flexible.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh.
When it.
Well, maybe,
oh, please.
I think I'm bleeding.
Ah,
Leo.
damn. Oh.
Well, there you go.
Medic.
Somebody please sweep those glass shards off of the table.
Is that glass?
Yeah, well, it's pointy. Is that blood?
Wow. That really, okay, don't do this at home. I can't drink my water or coffee now either.
Exactly, yeah.
And I hope the people in the front row and our studio audience are okay. And meanwhile, let's get another shot of that blood because I do want those 5 million views. Yeah, that's real blood,
Leo
folks.
will go for his audience.
Now let's be really careful here. At any point, and look at that stuff you peeled off of that top. Did any of them say, "Don't try to break it with your bare hands"? Because if it doesn't, we got a lawsuit.
That
Samsung money, Leo. Samsung money.
I didn't really expect that. Can you give me a big thing? It hurts. I've been punctured.
I'll say, Leo, that's not something that I would have instinctively thought to do myself.
Hey, but you know what? I take the hits for the hits.
We suffer for our art.
Our art.
And Leo has the power of millions of smartphone-trained keyboard strokes in those hands.
So, okay, hey, we could say this much. It's better than the Galaxy S3 front cover.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've proven it.
Again, if you would, but you still can't drive your rental truck over it. And really, why screw with us, Apple, if you're saying we can't drive a rental truck over it?
I don't know if that's glass or just shards of plastic.
If people are watching, we need a supercut now of Leo and Marquez both in their phone.
Let's talk about big boy pants.
Put them on.
We're wearing ours.
I sense a title. Put on the big boy pants.
Put on the big boy pants. The Squiller Memorandum, which is not like the Bourne Identity. It's something different. Although it feels like this should be a novel by Grisham. The Squiller Memorandum was revealed on Friday. The judge did, against Apple's wishes, unseal it, and gives us a little bit of an insight, a little bit of a picture into the agreements Apple makes with its suppliers. You remember the story is GT Advanced, which is they were a Sapphire furnace maker. They sold Sapphire furnaces. Apple lent them almost $500 million to build a plant in Mesa, Arizona with GT furnaces, but with GT running it to make Sapphire for a as yet
and these guys
unnamed
hadn't
Apple
been
device.
they hadn't been making Sapphire.
They had never done it.
They made the machines that made Sapphire.
Right. And of course, remember, most of Apple's suppliers are probably not in the U.S., I would guess. They're mostly in Asia. But I guess the same template is applied to them. Squiller in the memorandum says Apple never really entered into negotiations, telling instead the managers should not waste their time negotiating because Apple doesn't negotiate with suppliers. We don't negotiate with terrorists, and we don't negotiate with suppliers. According to a GT, after the company said, well, wait a minute, we got to, Apple said, look, these are our terms for other Apple suppliers, and you should, quote, put on your big boy pants and accept the agreement.
And by the way, we work with a lot of Fortune 100 companies, and that's a pretty standard thing for. I mean, we wouldn't even talk about Apple being that way, but most agreements that we get, we have the choice of either doing work with them and signing that contract, or we're not going to do any work with them.
Yeah,
you know, that's a pretty
Vader
common
suits
thing.
when they negotiate, Alex?
What?
Are they wearing Darth Vader suits when they negotiate?
No, they just really mean emails about why. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, at the closing meeting, we're going to have to ask that each person bring in one tire from their car and give it to us. I know we don't need it as a part of the deal. We just want to make you know that we can make you do whatever you want.
Right.
Whatever we want.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, I think that most people would be so happy to get an Apple deal that they'd go, yeah.
No, there's a lot of companies. There's a lot of carcasses along the road that have made big deals with like these companies, and this is one of them. But I mean,
one of them.
This is a cautionary. You know, we have almost been killed by big contracts. You know, and it is a.
But I guess you can't expect Apple. I mean, should Apple be a kinder, gentler Apple?
No, but
it's okay. You couldn't make the Sapphire. It's
but
okay.
if you're a little company, no, not at all.
You're doing a deal with the devil. You're saying, all right, I'm putting the. I mean, that's where Squiller really does need to put on his big boy pants and say, look, Squiller, you're the COO. He's the chief operating officer. You made this deal. If you didn't think you could do it, you shouldn't have made it. And it's like going to Vegas. I'm all in.
Yep. Yeah. And the thing is that you definitely have to accept when you sign these contracts. And the reason we're so particular about our contracts is that when we sign that contract, we assume that they mean everything in it. Like they'll tell you, oh well, we're not going to ever do that. Well, they might. You're talking to one person. You don't know how it's going to turn out sometime later. And so if you think that there's a problem, you need to. As a CEO, it's your job to make the decision that we walk away from business because the contracts don't work. And we say, I can't do that. I can't.
GT should have. So we're just seeing the car wreck that sometimes happens when a company Bites off
but it's
more
hard.
than
I mean,
it
they're
can chew.
offering you $500 million. I mean, as a little company, it's very clear
So
why they did that.
Let me tell you what went wrong, because we know from the memorandum. And we know the first thing we already knew was a $50 million penalty if you breach confidentiality per occurrence. We knew that. That had been out already. No, this is maybe you should have looked twice at this, Mr. Squiller. No manufacturing process can be modified by GT without Apple's prior consent, but GT must immediately implement any of Apple's suggestions.
That's kind of giving up your company. You're like wondering why Apple doesn't just buy you and build the stuff themselves at that point. I mean, that's
worse. GT must fulfill any purchase order placed by Apple on the date Apple picks, or you have to buy substitute goods at your own expense.
Yes.
So if you don't have the Sapphire the day we want it, you better give us some. In addition, the plant was built without input from GT.
That I don't understand. I mean, like this. Here's the deal: is that I get that Apple pushes a hard bargain, but this was not a smart move.
Yeah, this is a really hard bargain. The plant was built, for instance, without backup power generators because Apple deemed them too expensive. But now remember, if GT can't deliver on date and time, then, so if the power goes out, they're screwed. Apple also embedded its own employees at the Mesa plant who, quote, assumed a level of authority, end quote, and had to be reminded not to order GT employees around. So you're right. They should have just bought the thing.
I mean, if you're going to have that much control, nobody has enough control to make it actually work.
Squiller said Apple initially wanted to purchase the Sapphire furnaces from GT, but ended up offering this different deal, a new structure where GT borrowed money from Apple. Remember, this isn't a gift. Borrowed money from Apple to purchase the furnace components in order to supply Apple with the Sapphire crystal. Apple also prohibited GT from doing business with other manufacturers or suppliers working in consumer electronics. They have an exclusive. Squiller called Apple's tactics a classic bait-and-switch strategy and described the final agreement as onerous and massively one-sided. On the other hand, you signed the deal, Squiller.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Making things worse for GT if Apple decided not to use Sapphire Crystal in its upcoming products, which they, in fact, did, GT would be required to repay the loan fully in cash. And so this is all unsealed as part of a settlement in which Apple agreed that GT could sell the furnaces and whatever they got would be sufficient to settle the debt with Apple. In other words, Apple said, all right, we're not going to get all our money back.
Right.
So, in fact, I think Apple... You could make the argument that Apple did the right thing.
I mean, both of them were throwing a long bomb. Both of them wanted a cutting-edge technology. GT wanted the big contract. Apple wanted to have this new thing that nobody else has. And they both took a big risk. And
I think really, they should put their big boy pants on. Not Apple, but GT. Look, you guys made a long bet and you lost.
Yeah, right.
And there's no time. This is not the time to start saying, well, it was an unfair deal. I didn't like
Play
the
Kenny Loggins music, Leo. Play the Kenny Loggins music.
Which one?
Play the Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers music.
Oh, you got to know when to hold them.
But you can see how
when to fold them.
Now, saying all of that, you can see that the tactical thing to do is exactly what GT did, which is declare bankruptcy. I mean, there was no way they're going to be able to do anything else. And so while it sounds like they're complaining now, I think more of it is they're just making the legal argument that says we can't pay that.
I think Apple could reasonably complain, saying, "Look."
But I mean,
we're getting pennies back on our investment.
But I'm saying we can all complain. But what we're watching here is legal.
This is how it happens.
This is legal.
You're saying that as the son of a litigator.
I'm just saying that when you're not going to be able to make all the bills, you're going to have to declare bankruptcy. And in that, you're going to say these are the things that happened, and these are the things. Whether you were right or wrong, the bottom line is you're in a position where, and the only way for them to leverage themselves out of it was,
and it's a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is essentially reorganization saying to creditors.
Right.
We can't give you all the money back.
Apple.
Yeah. It was essentially
just the stock sale that was interesting before the.
Yeah. Okay. So the CEO of GT.
Yeah.
The day before Apple's iPhone announcement. No, it was the day before the Apple announcement.
Oh, a month before the bankruptcy announcement.
Sold like $100 million of stock. So
was it that much?
I can't remember. It was that much. Shall I look it up?
I think it was $160,000.
CEO stock sale.
I think it was $160,000 of stock.
He sold, you're right, $160,000 in stock. He said it was part of an ongoing stock dump. I've been dumping the stock for years. But the fact that it was the day before the announcement, and the announcement at this point he knew was not going to include Sapphire screens.
Hopefully he was doing that regularly, because otherwise that's a...
Well, I'm sure if there's any irregularities here that the SEC
he'll end up in jail.
Will investigate.
Or with a big fine.
He says it was part of a prearranged plan that was established in March. Probably,
a lot of CEOs do that. I mean, and most of CEOs of that size, a lot of CEOs will set up a payment like every month or every week or even every day.
Maybe that's what it was. If you thought
Usually
that
you want to sell the day after the Apple event.
I would say in most cases you would sell after a big announcement involving your product, unless you knew.
Well, and again, a lot of CEOs will do it regularly, all the time, specifically not to show any irregularities.
Now, is that the travel size Emmy? Because it doesn't look like it's in scale of what I've seen. Like,
he just swung that out. You didn't even see it coming. It's like Braveheart.
No. I've never won an Emmy, so I don't know.
It is the travel size Emmy. So
it's like the one they give to Kristen Chenoweth or something, so that she doesn't look quite so small.
That was like the sectional staff in Braveheart. He just swung it out. Leo was just walking by.
You know, you can actually do it with this thing. This thing is sharp. Right to the heart. All right, I'm just going to put my mini Emmy away.
You just gave it away. Like, hold the base of the camera again. Hold the base of the camera again. You can see the barcode where you bought it from Spencer Gifts. I'm sorry to have nailed you like that, but...
I guess a mini Emmy would be a meme,
can't even
right?
read it.
It'd be
It's
a
so
meme.
tiny.
Peel off the world's greatest dad sticker.
It says,
on the front
wait a
of it.
minute, I don't even own this. It says this Emmy is the property of and rights are reserved by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences.
So
I can't even show this Emmy on the air.
You just can't sell it. I think that's the big deal.
It is manufactured by R.S. Owens & Company, Chicago, Illinois, 630.
Well, now we know who to order a new one from.
Well, also, like if
is this reproducing it if I show it? No.
But you won that like before
Travel Emmy. It's a travel Emmy. You nailed it.
I'm saying that there's nothing on that sticker that says you can't use your phone to do 1, 2, 3D catch, make it into a 3D model, then print as many copies.
We could do that.
I like it. We thought today would be the day that the big announcement that Apple was acquiring Beats for $3.2 billion. They said that around Tuesday, maybe tomorrow. I'm on record as saying it's bogus. It's a bogus rumor that these sources are Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. But I don't know. I mean, obviously that's the biggest story to talk about. You've got your ear to the railroad tracks.
Leo, we actually have it on tape.
Let's see it. Oh, crap. It was a rumor created by Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine in an attempt to sell headphones and stock or whatever and to gin up some interest in a company that is actually failing. That's what I thought. Thank you to our editors.
Went too far? Yeah, way too far.
So I'm on record.
Some editors from Fox News or something, because that was a well-turned bit of promotion.
We're going to save that, and then when they actually announce it, we're going to play that, so I can be completely humiliated.
Or Jon Stewart can play it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think it's a bogus rumor. I think Dr. Dre's right now secretly laughing as he listens to all of this. And B, if it is not a phony rumor, then it is a clear sign that Apple has completely run out of ideas. All right, there was a big story this week that that happened the day after MacBreak Weekly last week that we didn't really get a chance to talk about today. It was eclipsed by WWDC. But real briefly, let's talk about Beats. The deal wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a false rumor. It was true. Sold for $3 billion. Most of that going towards the headphone business. I've seen some interesting speculation that, in fact, Beats was in financial difficulties and that they needed to sell. Only one analyst has said that, but an interesting point of view. I stand by my initial reaction. This is a terrible idea, and I'm shocked that Apple did it. Obviously, it wasn't a false rumor, but it's still a terrible idea.
Tim Cook was not wearing Beats on stage, Leo. If you look closely.
We did see Dre briefly.
Yeah, I was
hear from him.
And not only he called Dre, and Dre made him wait until the third ring to answer.
You know, that is odd.
Boy, that's a baller.
And he did call him Doctor.
And he called him Doctor.
And he also said, "What time do I show up for work on Monday, sir?"
Yeah. The thing, and you touched on this at Recode. Jimmy Iovine, Eddie Q take the stage. Jimmy Iovine. Or no, it was Eddie Q said music is dying. This is so manifestly not true. What's true is that the music industry, as we knew it, is dying. And this seemed to me a music industry bailout bill more than anything else. This is not the kind of... Jimmy Iovine is old school music industry, and I don't think this is the guy you want to bring back. Well, he said we want to bring back the album. Steve Jobs single-handedly killed the album with 99-cent singles. And now we're going to Apple to bring the album back? That doesn't seem like a good thing.
I don't think that's necessarily his motivation. From what
his motivation is $3 billion.
Well, but he also remember that.
He and Dre took $205 million out of the $500 million Carlyle deal. $205 million each they took out of that.
And making Tim Cook wait for 3 rings is a baller move.
But here's the thing that gives me a little bit of pause, and this is why when I saw the terms of the deal, I clarified some of my thinking on this. That imagine what it would have taken for Steve Jobs to sell Apple to somebody else, and then become an employee of that business. That was not his original technology business, and he didn't sell the company. I know that he sold Next to Apple, but he sold them to him. He sold his company back to a company he founded.
For $400 million.
Imagine if he sold Next to a music business, and then became a music industry officer. What would that say if Jimmy Iovine seemed to do the exact same thing? He walked away from a 25-year career in which he is a legend in that business, not just for making money, but also having the right ideas and being someone that both artists and executives respect. The idea that he's willing to dump out of the music industry business to become an employee at Apple, I think that says to me that he wanted to. I think that says to me that this is about headphones. This is about accessories. This is about a streaming business. This is about his ability to negotiate. But the other big factor is this is about Beats' attitude and opinions about technology and industries, adding to Apple's own experience. I really think that Apple decided to expand their mind by buying Beats, as much as acquiring a couple of different
Time
businesses.
will tell, but that's
just guesswork on my part. But that seems to
I
make
can
sense
think
to
of
me.
no reason why this makes any sense. It's not that Apple can't afford to throw away $3 billion on the possibility that there might be
maybe it's an experiment for them. That's not a lot of money
be an
for
experiment. Yeah. And I congratulate Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre for being the happy recipients of this experimental money. But
I think that one of the things though is that the streaming market is very new. It's very small. Regardless of how many people we're talking about in Spotify or whatever, in the grand scheme of things, it's very small. It's still very early, and it's very crude. You know, what Spotify does, what Pandora does is crude and barely works, and we're very excited about the gruel that we get. And so the thing is there's a lot of opportunity for disruption that these guys have. I don't know whether they're going to actually disrupt things, but there is a lot of opportunity there because the music, the services that we have right now are medium at best, and very ripe to be turned upside down.
I think it was Philip Elmer DeWitt who quoted an analyst who had some fairly negative things to say about this. The Carlyle Group, which is a merger, an M&A group, bought Beats. Kind of the impression I got was to save Beats.
Well, to flip it. That's what MA does.
To flip it, and part of the reason was Beats had mortgaged their IP and their name.
Yes.
To borrow money. Apparently, when they moved from Monster headphones to in-house, the margins went way down. This may not be the salubrious deal that people think it is.
Apple, the margins probably will go way back up.
Well, again, with Apple brings hundreds of millions of credit cards, people who've already bought a lot of music, and they apply that to a streaming service. There's a lot, the thing is that 10 million paying customers of Spotify is a drop in the bucket compared to where it can be. And the thing is for the music industry, it does not pay off to be on Spotify when there's 10 million paying users. It does pay off. The subscription service does pay off when there's 150 million users that are paying. And that's one of the
money quotes that Iovine did during the Code conference, saying that Spotify has 10 million users in the world. That's crazy. There should be 10 million in the U.S. It should be a much bigger market.
Should be 150 to 200 million.
The interesting thing is, the music goes to Eddie Q, the hardware, the headphones goes to Phil Schiller, none of their stuff has global reach yet. None of their stuff has global manufacturing yet. There's a lot of things Apple can do just to leverage the heck out of those brands.
Imagine them on Shark Tank. and Eddie saying, you're doing exactly the wrong model here, because I think that you're doing high markup stuff. You've got no international distribution. I'm out.
I do
I'll
hope
give you $3 billion for 100% of your company.
I do hope that Jimmy Iovine doesn't represent the old school music industry coming into Apple and saying, hey, here's how we got to do it from now on. And I just feel like that's exactly the wrong direction.
I feel like I feel like they wouldn't have made that offer to give him such a prominent spot on the executive team if he had not shown an ability to work with Apple. You don't last long at Apple as an iconoclast.
And he's been working with Apple for a long time, and he is the one. He's part of why why all these deals got done in the first place. And so it's not it's not like they just went to Beats. They've been having an ongoing relationship.
Do those deals follow Beats, or do they stay do they leave? In other words, are those not that the streaming music deals are that important, but let's
I think they're very important. I think the streaming music deals are
there's some
the
question
biggest
about whether they go with Beats.
I've seen different reports.
I've seen
they don't,
completely opposite answers. I don't know what the answer is to that.
But I don't think they have to. They don't. I think that if they don't change the service, I mean, I think Apple can own the service as an ownership without changing, without making it part of iTunes, and I think that they would retain all those.
Yeah, they're keeping the brand. They're doing a lot of things to have it almost, you know, they're file makering it basically.
Yeah, I can't wait till the fall till we see a Beats branded something to see how they integrate the Apple brand, because there's no sort of history with Apple integrating other brands into their own umbrella. I mean, again, there's Siri, there's FileMaker, there's not iTunes, and iTunes is also considered a brand, but
they said they're not doing that.
How so?
Apple said they're going to maintain the Beats brand. They're not going to integrate it.
But I'm saying, would they literally would they treat it as though it's an in-house product, or would they treat it as though something that here's an?
Yeah, well, I thought they were very clear that they're going to treat it as a standalone autonomous unit.
They can't monkey too much with it, because there are people who coming in as fans of Beats. I mean, one of the most compelling things that I came across is
all you're buying is a brand.
Well, but because there are people who have sort of kids who have switched over their idea. Their aspirational thing is someday I'll be able to buy my own Apple thing. That's a lot of that has switched over to someday I'll be able to own my own pair of Beats headphones I didn't find in a bus terminal. And so if they monkey too much with that brand, then they will make that disconnection of.
Yeah. Christina Warren had a great post where she wrote about how you used to be the iTunes everyone wants, and now it's the Beats everyone wants, and owning that brand affinity is important.
As we well know, fashion is very fickle, and the fashion trends don't last that long.
I hired a bunch of fashion people, Leo. They can make them gold next year.
I was outside of
a lot of money to spend on something that might not be very hip in 6 months.
I was outside of Walgreens yesterday, and I was walking, and I saw a guy with a pair of Beats headphones who also had an iguana on the top of his head. And I took a picture because I thought it was the freakiest damn thing I ever saw, and a bad use of the Beats logo.
I think that the real answer to this is $1 billion ain't what it used to be, and $3 billion ain't what it used to be, and it was chicken feed for Apple, and it was an experiment.
Maybe it's a failure.
And even if they get absolutely nothing out of it, which is exactly what they're going to get, Jimmy and Dre are going home in about 5 weeks. They still $3 billion. So what? They made more money than that last week.
I like to see Apple taking some risks in that area too. I mean, I think that I like to see them trying to do something down that path and taking some risks. They've got the cash.
Is there risk? Is there any risk really? I mean, there's just
none for them.
Risk. There's no real risk.
Also, there's not money, so like they can remake that money just by selling a lot of high-priced headphones. It's just a lot of loss of time and focus. It's the worst.
Right.
The worst of all possible outcomes is they lose a year of time and focus.
I hear MC Hammer is available.
No, it's Samsung is going to buy Ice Cube and Bose by this time next year.
Yeah. It is something I hadn't thought about. If Apple was aware enough about Beats to know that you're making money, but wow, you're running your business poorly. If we ran it, we could make so much more money out of you, and we would pay this off in about 2 years. So that's something. I'm not a business reporter, so I don't really. That's the first time I really thought about.
Yeah,
that.
and the one negative analyst report was from Sam Haggadah of Privco, who is somewhat. There's some question about how accurate I mean, you know, analysts, we don't know.
If Angela Ahrens can sell Beats in China, Leo, just the problem solved.
Just put a little plaid on them. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's a huge mistake, and it's in my mind, it's very reactionary. It's exactly the wrong direction.
Well, should we I'm certainly not saying this in a hostile way, but I'm wondering that is an interesting comment, that to see if both of these executives are still working at Apple in 5 or 6 months.
Yeah,
I think
you think they will be.
I think they will be, because again, it doesn't seem like, okay, well, we're for flagship purposes and make this look good, we have to sort of have an office and make sure my car is seen pulling into your driveway every Tuesday.
That was a great.
But I think, it will be interesting. I think that if Iovine is still with Apple in January or February, that will really lead to a lot of. I believe this is a real deal, and that would be the best conclusion. That's a real deal.
And I think we're going to see what they're planning in the fall.
I will say,
so
if he's not there, I will say I was wrong.
Where is Andy's hat? That's question number 1 from the Questions on Air team. You can show this, Chad. Where is Andy's hat? Tech for Hire posed this, but it got 14 upvotes. The upvotes are what makes a question pop to the top.
I will tell you that I usually shower 3 to 5 times a week, and almost never on Tuesday, because I've got lots of things coming on Tuesday. And today I happen to shower and shampoo and condition and whatever. And so I wear a hat on camera when I feel as though my hair is an absolute fright. When it's not a total fright, or at least beyond my standards of absolute fright, then I believe that, you don't want to be the guy who refuses to be seen without like something on their head.
Chad says, forget the hat. Where's the squirrel? He's with the hat. They're both getting longer.
He's in Tokyo working on a Pixel Core project.
Okay, I'm going to say done.
He signed the NDA. I didn't, so I'm not allowed to. But
there's your answer. I'm clicking the done button. We're going to pop the stack one more time, and move to let's see. We popped that. Pop beats. Now we're back to WWDC. Thank God.
Leo, I woke up to word that Burger King was buying Tim Hortons and moving the whole shebang to Canada. I just don't know what to do with myself.
I call shenanigans. What was it, too? It was a huge amount of money. It was billions and it dwarfs the acquisition of Twitch by Amazon. It's like 11 billion.
I'm
for
really,
a donut shop.
I like Tony Horton so much, and I don't like.
Oh
Burger
yeah, he
King
loves
so
Tony
much.
Horton. His favorite hockey player.
Yes,
Donut
Tony Horton.
Whoppers are going to be a thing.
Tony Horton.
So the thing is it's Tony Horton,
Tim
Horton.
Were
Tim
they
Horton
brothers?
takes your belly and pushes it one way, and I believe Tony Horton pulls it back in. So I try to stick with
$11.4 billion. It is a sacrilege. It's something akin to Budweiser buying Molson's.
It's good for neither of our countries, Leo.
What's weird is that they're moving Burger King to Canada.
We already have a queen. We're okay. We're good.
You got a king and a queen now.
Look forward to seeing more drunken people at hockey fights wearing those paper-free crowns now. That's a good visual. Free advertising,
Poor
man.
Jim Dalrymple's not even here, and he's being made fun of.
Remember Scott Bourne gave us that gold card at Burger King? I wonder if that'll work at Tim Hortons.
Unlimited Burger King. I guess it's all over for Scott and his unlimited Burger King card. Doesn't he have a card that he can eat free forever?
Something like that. That was the story anyway.
I don't buy it.
I think it was just a good story.
So apparently this is when it came across the wire, they said it was a tax inversion.
Yep.
Painful.
The hell is that?
Paying tax in Canadian dollars must be cheaper.
Yeah. It is. That's language they use in the first reel of a sci-fi horror movie to explain the thing they can't explain that caused the giant monster to visit upon this. It was a tax inversion. We thought it was impossible in this dimension, but look at what's happening right now.
I think that's what caused Sharknado is a tax inversion. Wasn't it?
Very much, yeah.
Several inversion, according to...
Did he attack Canadian beaches first? Canadian beaches pretending to be U.S. beaches.
Several inversion deals have developed this year alone. U.S.-based AbbVie bought Irish drug maker Shire, and then they moved to Ireland, right? The idea is you move out of the U.S. because the corporate taxes are so high here. I think we're pretty generous in our corporate tax structure.
Oh, no.
You say no?
No, it's fine.
I know Canadian corporate taxes are like, but Canadian civil taxes are redonkulous.
Yep. I think the United States has pretty close to the highest corporate taxes in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why everyone's doing this. That's why it becomes big business.
It must be. I mean, that's proof is in the pudding. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So you should go to Saskatchewan instead of Pennsylvania, Alex.
I don't have any family in Saskatchewan. I'm not moving to Pennsylvania for a tax inversion.
Isn't Canada like kind of practically a socialist nation with things like universal health care? How could the taxes be lower in Canada?
I think
none of this makes sense to me.
I think it's higher for individuals, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Huh. So that makes them a capitalist communist country.
It makes us very cold in winter and very happy in summer.
Now, I should point out that Tim Hortons, I don't know why we're going on and on about this, but Tim Hortons was owned by Wendy's.
And theoretically, and I'll argue that they use Macs. That's why,
there you go. That's why we're talking about it.
They have an app. They have a
they were in Delaware until 2009, and then they moved back to Canada shortly after the conservative government. Thank you, Mr. Harper.
We were repatriated. Lowered
the corporate tax rate. The new company will be based in Canada. It'll be called Burger Hortons.
There must be a lot of tax on burgers.
I think there are going to be a lot of people who are going to whimsically drop the last syllable off of that. Hey, man, want to get dinner, burger whore?
Talk about your Whopper.
Woo! I don't know. We should restart this show, I think. This is from Andre in San Francisco. What has been the defining moment after 400 episodes of MacBreak Weekly?
So many.
I think it's Leo.
Andre's
I think it's Leo with
Andre's
his
question.
laptop.
Thank you. Right. Me pouring water in my laptop?
No. It's you with your laptop with Steve Jobs giving you
that's
the
what
stink eye.
no one will ever forget.
That was because it changed.
The iPad announcement.
We haven't seen an invite since
2010. I think of Merlin Mann, the king of the rat hole, playing the guitar. I think of Andy playing the ukulele. We've had some fine musical moments on this show. I think of Becky Worley stepping up to Steve Jobs and asking him a question on FaceTime,
right?
Saying, when our FaceTime protocol is going to go open, like you promised, and him brushing her.
Yeah, it's like, enough.
More questions?
There have been many great moments. You know, Scott Bourne with his iPhone vest.
Yes,
I think that was a Merlin Mann trope.
All right,
Also,
another question.
His yacht wax.
Yacht wax? Who could forget his yacht? Scott Bourne's yacht wax.
Did your Swiss ball break on MacBreak Weekly, Leo? Or was that a different show?
I don't remember that one. I think it was a different show. That would have been a moment, though, wouldn't it? This show has always been so much fun to do.
Yeah.
And thanks so much to people like Merlin. I'm so glad to see you again. And Andy Ihnatko, to our founding member and the guy who created MacBreak, Alex Lindsay, and to the new kids, Renee Ritchie, and that's it, just you. The new kid. Any other questions?
Can I just say that I think we've picked a really good show to end on. I'm glad that we're ending it before we start going through that downhill thing and before there's all these rumors about
Andy,
guest hosts.
I don't want to cut you off, Andy, but this is a nation. This is a nation and an industry that fears a genius. This is an industry that is scared of brilliance, and I want to say, Andy Ihnatko, as I sit here with you today, it is nice to be with a genius. That is all I'm going to say about that. This is an industry that is full of fear. It does not want to try new things.
This is the show that made Jerry Lewis the star he is today. I'm proud to say.
Wait till J.J. Abrams reboots this thing.
Let me tell you, Merlin. When I got my invitation to be a panel on this show, man, all I wanted to know is tuxedo or dashiki and what time. Because to be on a stage with Merlin Mann is to know you have arrived in this industry. Because you do not suffer fools, Merlin Mann.
This is a time when I'm going to speak from what I call my heart. when you have an Andy Ihnatko, there is no can that can hold that genius. Okay, that's number one. The opener for that can is love. It's love.
It is. It's beautiful. Oh my God. Any other questions?
but we don't get to do our medley, Leo?
Yes.
That whole
You'll
point was set up our medley.
Alone.
You know, I think what the world needs now is love. And what kind of love?
Sweet
love.
Sweet love.
Next question.
It's so adorable. You keep trying to keep this on focus, Alex. But go ahead.
I'm doing the best I can.
Next issue.
Issue 3.
Issue 3.
Issue 3.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this edition of our holiday edition of MacBreak Weekly. We love doing this every year, taking the best events. I want to thank everybody who wrote in with your suggestions for the best moments on MacBreak Weekly. There have been so many. It's such a fun show to do. I want to thank our regular hosts, Andy Ihnatko, Alex Lindsay, Renee Ritchie, for helping me make a great show for you. I hope you've enjoyed MacBreak Weekly all year long, and I promise 2015, it's going to be even better than ever. Have a happy holiday and a very happy New Year. Don't forget, we'll be here all day New Year's Eve, 3 a.m. New Year's Eve to 3 a.m. New Year's Day for our big party. You're invited. Just tune in live.twit.tv anytime. I'll be here, and I hope you will too. And Happy New Year from all of us at Twit. We'll see you in 2015.